Hi guys, I've sat here for the last 20 minutes or so wondering if I should upload this video, and I'm going to, because it's just, I don't know, it just came to me. First, I'm going to quickly talk about what I was going to talk about. This is, all the tabs you see open on your screen is basically the video I made and was uploading before this train of thought hit me, and I just sat there thinking for like 10 minutes and then decided that I wasn't going to upload the video in the way that it was. I was going to remake it, adding on the new thoughts that had occurred to me while the video was uploading. So first of all, I was looking at for something to happen around Iran around the 31st, but prior to that I was looking at for something happening in the UK around the 25th or the 27th. At the same time, something happening to Donald Trump as well. Nothing like that occurred. From the looks of the news reports, it doesn't look as if we're on the verge of war with Iran, at least not 24 hours away in terms of war with Iran. Europe is, still looking, has found ways of circumventing the US dollar. It says here in this report, European diplomats are warning that enhanced US financial sanctions against Iran run the risk of forcing the rest of the world to create alternative banking systems that could undermine the long-time dominance of the US dollar. Already we've seen China, Russia, Iran, India, the EU make moves towards that new financial system, while the dollar is kind of being propped up at the moment, and we're seeing a lot of volatility in the market. Obviously, the word is always going to be the economy is doing well, but if you know anything about the economy, the dollar, inflation, and all of that, then you know that a collapse is inevitable. Whether it happens now or not is up for debate, but it does kind of seem as if 2018 is the year where they're going to make this crash happen so they can move on to the one world currency. Well, after destroying the other world currencies, they'll move on to the one world currency. Obviously, the dollar is the dominant currency of the world. Other currencies could fill in for, I'm guessing, a short time, but eventually they'll move on to what I think is the digital system, which obviously will be encoded into whatever chip they decide to use in terms of implanting them into people, and obviously that will be the mark of the beast. Turkey, I've warned about. Turkey is a key NATO ally, but they've just launched attacks on US-backed Kurdish fighters. The US is also a NATO part of the NATO alliance, so I can't see this Turkish attack on US-backed forces going very well in terms of bolstering the NATO alliance. We're already seeing the slow degrading of NATO with Donald Trump's rhetoric. Not only that, but Angela Merkel saying she's not going to be running for re-election just pulls at the strings of the alliance. So that's on the collapse. And obviously, Turkey is going to switch alliances. They are a key strategic ally. They're positioned right in the middle of everything that's going on. They've got a pretty strong army. They host a lot of NATO military members and NATO equipment. So if they did switch to the other side, it would be a big loss for the Western Alliance. In terms of something happening in the UK on the 25th or the 27th, this was what I believed was connected to the Invictus Games because of the reference to, bring it during the Invictus Games. Now, if you think about it, if let me just skip that part. If the pipe bombs that were sent to various Democrats, including Barack Obama, had gone off, that would have been this reference boom during the Invictus Games. So I'm just going to play it quickly. So that was the whole boom reference during the Invictus Games. As I said, if the pipe bombs had gone off and killed Barack Obama, then that would have definitely been a boom during the Invictus Games. The Invictus Games ran from the 20th of October to the 27th of October. The bomb Barack Obama received was on the 22nd or 23rd of October, so definitely within that time range. Whether that was supposed to occur or not, I'm not sure, but it certainly could be connected to this whole thing. But it seems that it didn't go ahead. maybe things have changed, or maybe it wasn't meant to be, as I've said before. Even with the Hurricane Oscar itself, obviously I'm still keeping an eye on it because these models tend to change in odd ways. I don't know if they're scrubbing data or they're changing data, you know, to make it more accurate or to make it less accurate. But either way, I'm still keeping an eye on it, but it does look like it's moving away from the East Coast. So again, it's like it was coming there, but now it's not. Was it meant to come there and it's now changed, or was it never meant to go there and it's always had this trajectory of moving away from the East Coast? Either way, even if you do believe in weather manipulation, then it's possible that they could still steer this hurricane back towards the East Coast. But now I'm thinking it's not likely. The next hurricane I warned about when talking about Oscar was Raphael. Oscar meaning the spear of God, Raphael meaning conqueror. So in my opinion, if they're going to use a hurricane during the situations we've talked about, then it's likely that it may be one of those two, referencing either God and a spear, or referencing conqueror in terms of, you know, defeating someone or something. Obviously, we know that their objective is to bring out the Antichrist and all of that, so a lot to look at. So this brings me on to where I started kind of having more thoughts about dates where these things can happen, because as I've said, if I'm not seeing anything that happened in the UK after Donald Trump that would lead to war with Iran, then I'm not sure that the other events are going to take place in the time frame of October 31st to November the 5th. Obviously, I've got November the 10th and the 11th, but as I said, when I was making this video, uploading it, a whole stream of thought just hit me, which I had to just sit and think about, or just let the thoughts come into my head, and then I decided that I would add it on to this video. So what I was talking about in the first upload was over here, the O. I've talked about it a lot before. It's the 11th letter of the alphabet, but at the same time, it's the 15th letter of the alphabet. That's because they've taken away the first 4 letters, making it the 11th letter, but ordinarily it'll be the 15th. 11/15, November 15th. Just putting it out there. And then you've got the Z, which is the 22nd letter of this alphabet, but 26 in the normal alphabet. And 22 can be broken down into 1111, which is 1111, and 26, that can be the 2 can be 1 and 1, and the 6 can be flipped upside down to be 911. If you want to look at it that way, you don't have to, but that's just a possible interpretation. The heliophone itself, as I said before, they've always got an emphasis on the O, and the O is the 15th letter of the alphabet, and I think it has a connection with this I dot that's coming across towards the O. As I said before, I think this is a depiction of an asteroid or a meteor, whether real or not, that they intend to bring to the Earth, and it seems to always have a connection with the O. And the O being the 15th letter of the alphabet, I'm thinking the 15th of November, they might try and bring this asteroid or meteor down to the Earth. The reference to it, again, you've got the little dot here on the side. You can picture that as the dot above the I, and then you've got the large emphasis on the O in gold again. I think the large O is a reference to the sun, and the smaller little dot is a reference to something either coming towards the sun or coming from behind the sun. In my opinion, I think it's coming from behind the sun, not visible until it's in front of the sun, thereby causing an eclipse, just like we saw with the images out of the solar observatory just before they shut it down. If those images were real, I can't tell you, but those were the images we saw. The other thing I was thinking about is the number of children here. There's 12 of them, plus the girl in the middle making 13. But if you consider that these two here are conjoined, that could mean that there's actually 11 children here, and the girl makes the 12th. If that's the case, the 11th child has possibly the number 15 behind its head, and the calla lily, which is used at funerals, so a connection to death. And it's possible that this is giving us that the last day. As I said, I think the 15th is the day that they're going to do the last major thing they want to do after they've done the tsunamis, the earthquakes, the volcanoes, the EMPs, blackouts, war, and everything else. The asteroid or meteor comes, from behind the sun and smashes into the Earth. When I say the Earth, I really mean the ocean, because that's the way that they kind of, it's like a start over kind of thing. If any of you have seen the Avengers Age of Ultron, in that movie, they reference the meteor as like a cleaning slate. It's like it comes down, boom, start over. That's the exact kind of words that they use in the film. So that's what I'm assuming, excuse me, they'd want to do. After all these other events, they'd bring down the meteor to, you know, kind of start things over so they can bring out their new world order and the Antichrist and one world government, one world currency, all of that. The reference to 15 again, I think, is shown here with the what looks like possibly a 1 and the number 5 making up the dividing line between the yin and yang. Again, when this dividing line, excuse me, when this dividing line disappears, you're left with a large circle and well, it was there, but now it's over here, a smaller circle inside. And obviously, again, that kind of has a same connection, a 15, a circle, an O, for example, and a smaller dot. So something connected with the sun and what they want to do in terms of, I don't know, maybe a deception or maybe something real. I can't really tell you what to believe, but I can give you the options. In the end here, at the end of the iPad Go 2 video, as the Antichrist is coming out of the tunnel, or, you know, you can look at it in various different ways, there are 50 lotus flowers that pop up behind the boat as he's moving forward. Now, I'm going to try and count it for you. I have to be pretty quick at some points because the boat just starts moving very fast. But we'll try and do it. So 1, 2, over there is 3, 4, 5. Slow it down a bit. 6, 7, 8 over here. 9, 10, sorry, 10, 11. Can't tell if that was 1. I'll keep it in mind. 12, 13. I think there's one over there as well. 14, that's over there. 14. And the last one, oh, just missed it. But the last one pops up just behind him as it goes to this scene, and he opens his eyes. And obviously in this part you can see the flames in his eyes as he's looking towards the sun, and the sun has the meteors, or, well, yeah, meteors coming from behind it, coming towards the earth, striking the earth. If these pyramids are any reference, then, you know, around Egypt, Mediterranean Sea, I don't know, but obviously one strikes the pyramid. That may not happen in real life. It could, as I said, just be a representation of something. But as I said before, as people have pointed out, we've got the scorpion in the background here, which gives us an indication to November. 15 lotus flowers, possibly again a reference to November being the 15th in that particular month. And just before that, just before we see all of that, we've got the reference here to S11 and what looks like a 10, or it could be that the 1 has been bent over, and it could be 1111 or 1110. Either way, it's still putting me in that kind of time range. 1111 is the date that the Skull asteroid, or the Death Comet, will be passing its closest to Earth. According to the reports, it won't be striking Earth, but at around that time, I'm going to give you the timeline that I was I was going to say given, but I can't really say given, it's like I thought of it. So I'm going to give you a timeline that I thought of, and it's possible that during that time, obviously with everything else that may be going on, people won't be paying attention to the fact that NASA or whoever else may be using spacecrafts or probes to do something around the sun. This report came out on October the 29th, so yesterday. still today for some of you guys. The Parker Solar Probe now holds the record for closest approach to the Sun by a human-made object. The spacecraft passed the current record of 26.55 million miles from the Sun's surface on October 29, 2018 at 1:04 p.m. As calculated by the Parker Solar Probe team. The previous record for closest solar approach was set by the German-American Helios 2 spacecraft in April 1976. So, they're clearly wanting to get to the Sun for some reason. Around the 11th, around the 11th of November, there'll be the Death Comet passing by. And from what I was thinking, it may be that it all coincides. So I'm just going to leave it on the screen while I just tell you what came to me at the end while I was uploading this video. The 6th of November is election day in the USA, midterms. There's a show called Futurama. Some of you may know it. It's similar to The Simpsons and to Family Guy, but the show itself is called Futurama, so it gives itself more leeway to talk about future events, or to at least depict future events in the show itself. Now, there's a couple of things that other people have already picked up on Futurama showing in their show, which has actually come true in real life. You can go look at it on YouTube. But what I want to show you is something that hasn't yet happened, which I think may be happening on November 6th. This is the USA map. Now, you can see that it's red and blue, and there's one white state here. Now, my interpretation for this is what the map is going to look like on November 6th, or at least it's going to start to look that way. I think there's a connection with the iPad Go 2 video in that respect, with the children in the classroom. If we just put aside other interpretations for a second, they are still relevant, but I just want to focus on this one. In this classroom scene, when it starts off, we have all the blue figures, and then the classroom slowly turns red. And I don't know if it's a correct interpretation, but it's possible that on November 6th, it may look like the Democrats are going to take the House or the Senate or whatever at first. But then it starts to become pretty clear that the Republicans are going to not only maintain the House and the Senate, but actually gain more seats in the House and the Senate. But Florida is white. And for me, that means it's not there. It's not counted for some reason. And I assume that on November 6th, on election night, while the results are coming in from the various states, Donald Trump's going to be in Florida. Assuming that all the votes are counted and, you know, we have results on November 6th, then it's possible that maybe at a rally or something where Donald Trump is, you know, congratulating himself and his administration and, you know, thanking all the people that went out to vote, something happens. That may have connections with the 10,000 people that I've theorized may have been connected to the TFL. That may be connected with Florida instead. Maybe something happens at a Donald Trump rally. Something happens to Donald Trump included. That's the 6th of November. These are all just the thoughts that just came to me at the end of the video. So, you know, please don't attack me for what I'm saying, but I'm just putting it out there. So there may be correspondence between shows like Futurama, The Simpsons, and the iPad Go 2 video showing different things in different ways. This map showing clearly Florida not being counted as part of the Democrat-Republican map for some reason, and that possibly being connected with the midterms. The 7th of November. The 7 in the iPad Go 2 video, I think, is clearly connected to the UK. I'll repeat it over and over again that the 7 on the shoe and the pound coin, they obviously are connected together for some reason. So there's a reference to 7 and the UK. I'm just putting it out there, the 7th of November. After Florida's attack, London next. That could line up with the LTN on the chalkboard in terms of Florida, London, and then maybe New York. But possibly not yet, because there's also the interpretation for the actual lettering. Let's get to it. Yeah, so there's also interpretation for the lettering here, not only to mean like T for, like, say for example, Tokyo, Tel Aviv, or Taiwan, but also you've got the flip side, which it could be represented as a H, and again also could be represented as an I. I personally look at it as a T or a H, representing either Hawaii or Tokyo or both. And the reason I say Hawaii and Tokyo is because they're close allies of the United States, or at least Hawaii is part of the United States, but kind of separate. It houses an important institution there, the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center. So if that's gone, then it's, you know, less likely that people are going to get advanced warnings about an incoming tsunami. It's still possible they could, but it won't be, you know, as smooth as it should be with the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center in place. Either way, I think after Florida, after London, either Tokyo, Tel Aviv, or Taiwan is attacked by North Korea. In terms of that theory, it would obviously be Tokyo, Japan, that would be the target. Now, I think North Korea would use the H-bomb for that. That was their last test, their biggest test, and it obviously caused a massive earthquake. Now, if they manage to improve on that and get the yield even bigger, there's a possibility that an explosion, a nuclear explosion in Tokyo, could generate earthquakes throughout the Pacific, more than likely. Now, here's what I started thinking. What if North Korea did nuke Tokyo, or at least they were accused of nuking Tokyo, and the earthquakes from that explosion were used as an excuse for why Kilauea erupts? Obviously, I don't think the earthquakes from Tokyo would cause Kilauea to erupt. It could, but I don't think it would be the actual reason. I think it would be a nuclear device or something setting off the volcano around the 9th, 10th of November. If that's the case, the earthquake, Kilauea eruption, Helena split, I think would be from November 9th to November the 11th. Obviously, after that event happens, the tsunami would ensue, and that may come towards the west coast around the 12th of November. But bear in mind, around the same time, the 11th of November, we've got the death comet going by the planet, and you know, who knows what, if or what they could do with that or to that, so, or, you know, possibly change its trajectory. Either way, I think around that same time, around the 11th of November, around the 12th of November, something moves in front of the sun, some sort of eclipse or something like that. Leading us on to the 13th of November, where I believe Iran comes out and blocks the Strait of Hormuz. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because I'm simply flipping the 31 backwards. So if I can get it in this scene here. So the 31 that I see here in the clouds, I'm basically just reversing it to the 13th of November. And as I say, around that time, the death comet's passing by. I think they're doing an eclipse of the sun or something like that. And that could be what we're seeing here, something moving in front of the sun. Following on from that, there's the tsunami. Now, I personally think the tsunami is generated before the EMP, but doesn't reach the east coast before the EMP does. So basically, tsunami is generated, it's moving towards the east coast, then a missile is fired containing the warhead that will, you know, cause the EMP. Obviously, missiles fly faster than tsunamis travel through the water, so the EMP would arrive first, even though the tsunami was generated first. take out the electricity. Moments or hours later, the tsunami comes in, and then the last day I've got is obviously November 15th, where I think, having seen the eclipse of the sun by some sort of object, we then have the impact. At the same time, I think things go crazy everywhere, obviously. That was a lot of talking and thinking, trying to put it into some sort of linear timeline. I'm not even sure if I'm going to upload this video right now. I'll probably save it until after the time period has passed, just to save any confusion. But yeah, there it is. Have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and may the Heavenly Father bless you.